what was this kind of breaking point for you?
Like, I had always had OCD, but it was never to the point where I felt like I needed extreme help. So when I was like 10, 11, 12, I went to a child psychiatrist and they like helped me through the process, but it wasn't severe enough to get on medication. Or honestly, I take that back. I think it was, but my parents, you know, they grew up in a different generation where like mental health is a little bit more taboo. My mom has since apologized. But it was like taboo, and it was like hard for her to like come to terms with it. You know what I mean? Like, she grew up in a generation where mental illness wasn't as widely accepted, and I think she feels guilty for that now. But they did want to put me on medication, and she just wasn't comfortable with it. Like, I don't think anybody...
But I also think when you're a child that's growing, I think there is some understanding that maybe the first pass isn't medication. The first pass is exposure. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exposure,
like exposure
therapy. So I understand the first one being like, let's see what all the other things we can do before we just jump to medication.
Yeah,
so
because we did like the exposure therapy and like talk therapy because I was so young.
Yeah.
But I think that they could tell maybe that it was more than like a mild case at that point. But, you know, once I got like older to my teens, I kind of fell out of therapy because I was like, oh, I can handle this. Like, I'm fine now. Because I was dealing more with like depression from the OCD at that point, and not so much like OCD in like the form of like physical form, but like more mental compulsions.
Yeah.
So I thought it was fine. And then I think what triggered it at 19, honestly, was I moved to Los Angeles to start my career because I had, you know, taken off on YouTube. I was doing that whole realm of things, and I was getting an agent, and I was acting, and that whole world of, you know, I'm a YouTube star now. And I think the stress of that, honestly, really started to fall on me. Like, moving to a different city by myself at 18, I was, you know, when I moved, I was dealing with the pressures of like, I don't want to say young Hollywood because YouTube's not young Hollywood.
No, but you're also being thrown into a world that you clearly care about, that's important to you. You think this is going to be like your big break or whatever, but you're also unsure of your place in this world. They always say like the opposite of depression is community. Mm-hmm. We see with teenagers in general, you make this big jump. All of a sudden they're like, you're an adult now, you're welcome, get out there. And you're like, I don't feel like I was prepared. I still don't understand taxes and I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
But I do think you have this big step out there, and all of a sudden you don't have the same community you had before. You feel like you're not supposed to ask questions. You feel like you're not supposed to lean on your parents the way you were before. And then also you're now in this new field where people clearly think you are capable enough to be here, but then all of a sudden that self-doubt comes.
Yeah.
So I think in general, even just a brain that's not dealing with OCD would be overwhelmed. And then you have to also deal with the overwhelmness of your disease kind of being on top of you. So I do sometimes see a pattern in the people in my life and the people that I've interviewed, which it's always when this big step, this big, not and a positive one. You know what I mean?
No, it was great. Like, it really was. And it should have been like the happiest time of my life. Like, I was 18, it's freedom, I have my own apartment, you know what I mean? But to me, it was honestly the worst time. And I think like, if you read anything about OCD, stress triggers OCD. And that was so stressful.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a lot of built up of not having the right tools to deal with it. Like, I'd stopped going to therapy in like my late teens and like just not having a support system.